Hi, I'm Maths Magician, and yes, I am going to show you how to convert a decimal to a percentage. If you don't know what decimals are or don't really understand how they work, let alone how to convert them into a percentage, I'd really recommend that you watch one of my previous videos called What Are Decimals? This video will give the watcher a stable foundation on decimals and how they work. Link to this video will also be in the description box under the video. Now that's done, what are we waiting for? It's time to do some maths in 3, 2, 1, let's go! How to convert decimals to percentages. In this phrase, there are three main words. Decimals, percentages, and the word convert. We have decimals or percentages and we want to be able to switch between them at ease. But the word we really need to focus on is convert. So if you look up the word convert, you'll get something along the lines of this. To change a value or expression from one form to another using a formula or relation. And in our case, we have to change decimals to percentages, or vice versa. So, for example, take millimeters and centimeters. To convert a millimeter to a centimeter, we usually multiply it by 10. And that multiplying by 10 is a relation or a formula, because it helps us change from one form to another form. But to really delve deeply into how to convert decimals to percentages, let's look at some examples. So here we have the examples, 0.75 and 75%. So do you notice any similarities between these two examples? I'd like you to pause this video right now and see if you can find any similarities between these two examples. So you might have noticed that both of these have like the number 75 in them, but a percentage has this percentage sign which makes a number a percentage, and this value over here, 0.75, it has a decimal point which makes it a decimal. There can't be a decimal without a decimal point, and there can't be a percentage without a percentage sign. So how do we convert these two when they look so different? To convert these two, I just follow two steps, and you might already know what these are. These steps aren't very hard, they're quite simple and will always get you the right answer every time. So step 1 says multiply the decimal by 100, so let's do that. Let's take that decimal, chuck it here, 0.75 multiplied by 100. This would give us 75. So the second step is really easy. So now all you need to do is just put a percentage sign after the number. So the percentage would be 75%. That's all we need to do. So it's basically just one step. We just have to multiply it by 100. That's all we have to do to convert. And let me show you why these two convert, because they actually represent the same value. Because you should be unable to convert one thing to another if they don't represent the same value. Say you had 4 apples, then you shouldn't be able to convert it to 4 oranges. Like, they're totally different things. While these, they represent the same value, they're just written differently. Like 4 Granny Smith apples and 4 green apples. They might look different and they might feel different, but they still represent the same thing. So now, let me show you why they are the same. Let me just get my highlighter. So, in this 100 square, let's color in 0.75. 0.75 is 7/10 and 5/100. And as I said in my previous video on decimals, tenth is basically 10 blocks in our hundredths table, and hundredth is 1 block, and we need 5 of those 1 blocks. So let's just color that in real fast. So that's 0.75 represented on our hundredths table. Let's move back to our right. Now let's represent this 75% in this hundredths table. So to do this, this would represent 100%, and Now, if this whole thing represents 100%, then because there's 100 little squares in this big square, then one of the little squares would represent 1%, and 10 of the little squares would represent 10%. We have to color in 75 squares. So when we do that, that's 50 squares. Now we've colored in 75 squares. When we zoom out a little, they basically look the exact same because they are the same. Sorry about my messy drawing, but hope you understood. Now let's do some practice questions because this will actually help implement the 2 steps that I've taught you. So usually some people might call this practice problems or questions, but I like to call them practice opportunities because these are opportunities for us to get better and better at math. So question 1. Convert the decimal 0.71 to a percentage. So for our first step to converting the decimal 0.71 to a percentage, as we said before, we have to multiply the decimal by 100. So we can do that by writing 0.71 multiplied by 100, which would give us 71. And then 71, to turn into a percentage, all we have to do is add a percentage sign. It's that easy. Now, for question 2, it's a little bit tricky because we're going to try and do it the other way around, converting a percentage to a decimal. We haven't gone into this, but I put this as a challenge for your minds to think about the question and maybe come up with a solution. The question says, convert the percentage 32% to a decimal. We can do that by, since we multiply by 100, as we've done here, to get from a decimal to a percentage, we just have to do the steps, but instead of doing 1, 2, we do 2, 1. If we refer back to our steps, step 2 is add a percentage sign after the number. So what we have to do here, we have 32%, we have to remove the percentage sign. Let's just get rid of that, so it just gives us 32. And now, we have to do step 1. Multiply the decimal by 100. But the opposite, because we're doing it the other way around, the opposite of multiply is divide. So instead of multiplying, we have to divide this percentage by 100. And when I do that, that gives me 0.32. This was a bit challenging, but remember, you can't just convert one way, like decimals to percentages. You can also convert the other way because they represent the same value. That's all. If you enjoyed watching my video, how to convert decimals to fractions, then click that shiny red subscribe button. Don't forget to strike that bell to get notified when I release more fun maths videos. If you have any questions or comments about my video, or any other topics that you want me to explore in my future videos, then chuck in the comment box down below. Thanks for watching.